Tower of Babel story. The Tower of Babel. Humanity's pride and the birth of languages. In the beginning of the ancient world, when memories were long and the earth was still finding its rhythm after the great flood, there lived a people who spoke with one voice. Imagine a time when every word could be understood by every ear, when no translation was needed, no gestures to bridge meaning. Humanity shared a single tongue, and with it a single dream. These were the descendants of Noah, spreading across the plains as the floodwaters receded into memory. As they journeyed from the east, they discovered a broad valley in Shinar, where great rivers blessed the soil. Here, they said to one another, "Here we shall stop our wandering." In their settling, they made a remarkable discovery: how to create bricks. Instead of relying on scarce stones, they learned to shape clay and bake it hard as rock. "Come," they said, "let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly." They used brick for stone and bitumen for mortar, that thick black substance bubbling from the earth, perfect for binding their creations. With these tools their ambitions grew. Why build simple dwellings when they could create something eternal? And so the vision took shape. A city, and within it, a tower reaching toward heaven itself. Its top would touch the sky, standing as a monument to human achievement. But woven into their motivation was something deeper. "Let us make a name for ourselves," they declared, "lest we be scattered across the face of the earth." In these words echoed their fear of separation, of being lost in the vastness, of being forgotten by time. Day by day the tower rose. The ring of hammers, the calls of workers, the scraping of brick against brick created a rhythm pulsing through the valley. The structure climbed higher, casting longer shadows, a testament to unified human will. The people worked with pride swelling in their chests. "Look what we can do when we stand together," they thought. "We need no one but ourselves." And it was this pride that drew divine attention. The Lord came down to see the city and tower that humanity was building. "Behold," came the observation, "they are one people with one language, and this is only the beginning. Nothing they propose will be impossible for them." Here was humanity unified and powerful, but building upward in defiance rather than outward in trust. Their tower was not an offering but a challenge, not a bridge to the divine but a ladder to self-made godhood. A decision was made, born not of anger but wisdom. "Come, let us confuse their language, so they may not understand one another." Imagine the morning when it happened. Workers arriving as always, greeting one another. But this time the greetings sounded strange. Words that should have been familiar became foreign. The builder called for mortar, but his assistant heard gibberish. Instructions became confusion. Questions met blank stares. Bewilderment rippled through the construction site. People gathered desperately trying to communicate, discovering they could only understand some, not others. The unified language had fractured into many. The tower, which had climbed so high with such certainty, now stood unfinished. Without communication, the grand project collapsed, not dramatically but through gradual abandonment. The work simply stopped. The rhythmic sounds fell silent. Then came the scattering they had feared. Unable to speak to one another, the people did what they had tried to prevent. They scattered across the earth, each linguistic group seeking their own territory, their own destiny. The place was called Babel, from the Hebrew word meaning to confuse. The tower stood incomplete, a monument not to achievement but to the limits of pride. The biblical account became intertwined with historical memory of actual ziggurats, step towers throughout ancient Mesopotamia. The most famous was Babylon's Etamanenki, meaning foundation of heaven and earth. This massive structure, nearly 300 feet high, may have inspired the Babel narrative in human memory. The story echoes through cultures, taking new meanings with each retelling. In Jewish tradition, it represented the dangers of losing individual identity to collective ego. In Christian interpretation, it foreshadowed Pentecost, when the gift of tongues would reverse Babel's curse. Islamic tradition tells of the prideful king Nimrod attempting to wage war against heaven itself using the tower as his weapon. Today, we live in a world of approximately 7,000 languages. From the clicking consonants of Khoisan languages to the tonal complexities of Mandarin, from Finish's agglutinative structures to the verb-heavy Salishan languages, each represents a distinct pathway human thought has taken. In this diversity we see both curse and blessing. Yes, we are divided by language, sometimes tragically. Misunderstandings have led to conflict throughout history. But each language also preserves unique knowledge, poetry, and ways of being human. When a language dies, we lose entire ways of understanding the world. The Tower of Babel reminds us that unity without humility becomes tyranny. That reaching upward without looking inward leads to confusion. That our greatest achievements require not just skill but wisdom about our place in the larger order. Perhaps Babel's lesson is not that we should never attempt great things, but that we should attempt them with the right spirit. Not to make a name for ourselves, but to serve something greater. Not to avoid being scattered, but to embrace diversity as a gift. As you drift towards sleep, see the tower rising brick by brick, aspiration given form. Then see it standing incomplete, surrounded by people speaking new tongues, preparing to journey to new lands. They leave their unified dream but carry something precious. The seed of every culture, every language, every unique human story ever told. The ruins of Babel remind us that nothing built by human hands lasts forever. But the stories we tell, in all our languages, continue building bridges where once there was a tower, creating understanding where once there was confusion. Rest now and let this ancient story settle into your thoughts like dust on unfinished stones, a reminder that our striving matters less than our humility, and that sometimes what feels like intervention is actually mercy, protecting us from towers built to our own pride. The earth is wide, the languages are many, and morning will come in whatever tongue you dream.